just in terms of what we're going to run through today, I want to give you a good feel for the feature itself and why we've introduced that. So just in terms of what we'll run through, why are multiple signatures so important? How do we use multiple signatures in the front end of GoProposal? What has changed in the administration area? Not a huge amount to show you there, but we can see the elements that are different on the proposal dashboard, and then what you should focus on next to get set up, and then what's next for Oversuite, because we're pretty much nearly there with releasing everything, and it's the big one this week in terms of what we'll be releasing. So very similar to the key dates process that we went through last time. I imagine we'll finish with plenty of time, and we won't take the full hour, so you guys will get time back, and we'll have plenty of time at the end for asking questions as well. So just to quickly pop a hello in the chat to make sure everybody can see where that is. There we go. Awesome. Okay then, guys, so let's start things off just by looking at why do multiple signatures matter? Why are they important to what we're doing? Now, in terms of the process, this idea all comes down to the concept of a nominated individual, really. So within a certain process, within a company, we may have multiple people involved. So in this situation, Director A, Director B, and Shareholder C. And the process that we see that takes place most often is that Director A will sign a document on behalf of everybody else. So this individual will give the permission to say, okay, we're good to go. You can start acting on behalf of our company, and we'll start working together. Now, this is fine most of the time, but what happens when something goes awry, Director A and Director B fall out, is that there can be a gap here in terms of, why have we been making decisions or acting on behalf of Director A without my permission? I didn't give you permission to do that. And this can lead to problems, if things do go awry. So it is all about the protection for those instances. So what we want to be able to do is make sure that Director B has said, yep, absolutely, I'm more than happy for Director A to be the nominated individual. I'm happy for this person to take advice and to give instruction on what you do for our company. This just means that if that instance does come along where something has happened, that we're not going to have any issues. So let's say, let's take James Ashford and Paul Barnes as an example for GoProposal. Let's say that James decided that he wanted to increase his pension contributions to 20 grand a month, and he instructed MAP to do so. Now, if James did that without Paul having nominated him as the individual who should make the decision, then MAP could be in a situation where they had to deal with a lot of problems. But here, if we have Paul, who's nominated James as that individual, then we've got a little bit more protection in there as well. Now, on top of that, we also want to make sure that we've got privacy notice agreements in there as well. So when it comes to the privacy notice, a lot of this stems from GDPR. So we are processing data for these individuals in multiple ways. So for example, for payroll, we could be a data processor. For a director's tax return, we could be a data controller. So there's different levels of what data we're handling for that client. And when it comes to getting permission on that basis, that needs to be on an individual level. Now, when it comes to dealing with the payroll for a company, the individual who's been nominated can sign that off. But when we're doing different directors' tax returns or different payroll for these individuals, we need to get their permission. Now, on top of that, thinking about the many nuances of GDPR that you guys will have all dealt with, we also want to make sure we've got that permission to selling other services or market services to that individual. Obviously, it doesn't feel like that when we've got a relationship, but it's always important to have that in there as well. So if I was speaking to a client and I wanted to recommend a certain financial company that could help them with a certain element of their work, that could help with R&D tax claims, for example, I would want to make sure that my privacy notice gave me the permission to deal with that. The idea here is, and when it comes to what this is really protecting us against, you guys may have seen James's video on this, and I think this is a great example of what multiple signatures protects against. So Val, having worked in this industry for a long time, being a leading expert in this concept of letters of engagement, had a great example where a director and his wife, they were getting a divorce, and a certain way that an accountant had acted for this director, the nominated individual, which was the husband. She didn't like that. She took a bit of a stance against that and tried to sue the accountancy firm on that basis. Now, this was taken to the governing body, to the legal bodies as well, and they ruled that they hadn't acted in any way that was wrong, or they hadn't done anything that was particularly bad, but it took the accountant over 250 hours to put that right. So as James says in his video, this is a time bomb. This is something that could possibly lead to you guys spending a lot of time putting things right if things go wrong. I know it's a big if, and the chances are we don't come across these problems a lot, but if we were to, they can take up a lot of time and really eat into our resource as a business owner. So that's what we want to avoid in this situation. A little bit of context of what we're looking to do here, why multiple signatures matters. Now let's take a look in Go Proposal and take a look at what has changed within the system that will allow us to deal with that. Now, in terms of what I've just been through there, guys, in terms of the nuances of getting signatures and understanding how that works, that is something that I am far from an expert in. So if anyone's got any questions or what I've just been through, or anything wasn't quite clear, please post it in the chat, and we've got some great resources in Val, and also all the elements that James has been learning about over the last couple of months that I can lean on as well. So don't hesitate to reach out if any of that was unclear or created any sort of nervous energy out there. Awesome. Okay, so in terms of running through the feature itself, I've got a few different tabs open. So I've got my admin area where we can see what the signatures presents themselves in terms of how we can track that. We've got the front end where I'm going to run through the create proposal section where we can see how this has changed, as well as the different elements of the signatures that are going to be in there as well. Now, the very first starting point here in terms of what we'll see is slightly different will be the contact details within here. So we're now separating out the company details, which will come first, and then our primary contact details within here. So this is where we first meet this concept of the nominated individual within here. So we've got their details, their position in the company, as well as the core contact details, so email and mobile phone number. And then if we come down here, you can see that we've got the ability to build in additional signatories as well. So I've got Jamie in here, who's also a director, who we're going to be sending through a signature as well. I can build up additional ones in here if I wanted to by clicking to add another signatory. And when Oversuite is live and when I've got like content in here, I will also have the ability to decide whether it's just the authorization of the engagement letter, or if it's authorization of the engagement letter and the privacy notice. So there'll be two tick boxes here that we can work through. So I can send just the privacy notice or just the engagement letter and choose how we're going to deal with that as well. So when Oversuite is live, we'll have two elements to select within there. Now, the way this will work in terms of what gets sent out, the nominated individual will receive the typical letter of engagement email that we send out from the system. And then for the other individuals, let me just pull up my email here, they will receive a signature required email. So this is Jamie, my second individual, that we've been asked to review and sign a proposal on behalf of the Goldfinch Arms, which is the company in question. Now, this will present itself as, let's come across to here, guys, sorry, wrong one, as two options within the signature within here. So you can see that we've got the little sand timer there to say they haven't yet been signed, and both individuals will have their own page within there. Now, you can see within here that I can't click on that one. It's not like Jack can sort of go in there and do it for both individuals. It would be only Jamie who could come in and sign on behalf of that. Now, also on top of this, another thing that has changed is that we can review the documents at the point of signature as well. So this is something that can be included in here. They need to be able to see what they're signing for. So to create a nice strong connection in the signature page, now we can see exactly what's going on within here as well. Take a look at the proposal, take a look at the letter of engagement, and make sure we're happy with all that content. Now, the signature itself hasn't changed. We can still do the nice written signature, include a style in there and update the different styles if we want to, or just upload our own signature as well. So we've got those options still within there. Now, when I come through and confirm that I've signed in there, it will take me through to the different elements here. As I'm the lead signature, as I'm the nominated individual, I can send reminders if I want to. So give Jamie a bit of a kick to make sure that she's reviewing it and signing it. And also in this stage, guys, this is where we'll see included elements of the Go Cardless integration update. So if we wanted to make sure that someone couldn't complete the process until they've given us the mandate, we'll be introducing that in here as an additional step that you'll see at the top up there. Now, within the back end of the system, what has changed here, if I just refresh this so we can see what's come through, along with our updated dashboard, we've now got the ability to see the signatures within there as well. So if I was to click on there, I can see that Jack's completed, he's signed that there, but we're still waiting on Jamie's signature as well. And obviously, as we build up more signatories, we will just have more individuals that will build on top of there. Now, in terms of the document itself, they will feature both signatures on the bottom of there. So both signatures will be added once we've been through the full process, and the generation of invoices will take place if we're using things like Xero or QuickBooks once all individuals have signed in there. So it won't just be nominated individual signs and then the invoice gets generated and we're scrubbing around to find the other people to sign it. It would wait until everybody has signed that within there before it starts doing anything with the generation of invoices. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, in terms of what to look out for, guys, as I mentioned, in terms of privacy notice, that will generate a new little tick box in there. So that's just one thing to be wary of in terms of what I'm showing you there. That will update very soon. And in terms of the next steps and what to look out for moving forward, there's a few key things to consider. So when it comes to multiple signatures and what we should look at with this feature, the very first thing is to make sure that you're happy with the concept of the nominated individual. This is the big change here. This is the element that's most important around multiple signatures. So just to make sure you're happy with what that concept is, who that individual will be in a given business, and how you can approach that with your clients is really important. Now, if you're not going to be using Oversweet, the other thing to consider is how to make sure that concept of the nominated individual is consistent with the content that you've got in your letter of engagement. So just making sure that all marries up, and that your primary signature and what the other individuals are assigned to do is represented in the content itself. Now, Oversweet will deal with that itself if you are using that. So if you guys are all sort of on board to start using Oversweet this week, then that's all cool. That's not a problem. But if you're not looking to use that, that's something to consider when using this feature. I would also recommend running through a test proposal with multiple signatures. So because this is changing, because the way this is going to be approached is going to be not just a single signature, but having multiple people contributing towards the same doc. Get someone internally, send it as if you're the nominated individual and you've got a couple of employees who are the additional signatories. Have a little test, sign it, have a look at how it all looks, what emails they get, how the document looks, and just make sure that you're happy with that full end-to-end process. And the final thing just to note is just to consider functionality versus suitability. So it's really important when it comes to multiple signatures that we're considering the scenario that we're in. So it may be that we can use multiple signatures and we just get one single document signed. But if it's going to be a situation where there's multiple groups involved, or different companies within the people that we're working with, there are also going to be instances where the best approach is to get single individual proposals and send them that way instead. So this is just a little bit of word of caution. Just because the functionality is there, it doesn't mean it should be used in every single situation. And just make sure you're happy with when you're going to use that and when you're not going to as well. Also, okay, so in terms of what's coming next, what's on the horizon, the final piece of the jigsaw here is this Thursday, we're going to be releasing the full Oversweet content within there as well. So everything that pulls together the various letters of engagement, the different scopes, the ability to manage changes, update that content, and have this looked after for you guys forevermore will be here this Thursday. So everybody who's pre-registered their interest will have the ability to jump in there and start playing around with that. And you'll also see the concept of any of the content around nominated individuals in there, how we've dealt with it, the privacy notices that are in there and the options you've got. And that will tie everything together from what we've seen and what we've shown you previously.